This is BBC One. Now the 10 o'clock news with Huw Edwards and Asad Ahmed.
Tonight at 10, the long campaign for a referendum on the European Treaty is over.
248. The noes to the left, 311.
MPs vote against the Conservative plan as the Prime Minister denies that too many powers are being handed to the EU. Dozens of Labour and Lib Dem MPs rebelled in the vote and defied their party leaders. Also tonight, the President dances for joy as the Republicans settle on their next candidate for the White House. The father stabbed to death in a park in Burnley as he tried to protect his son. Drug-taking celebrities are treated too leniently, a warning from the UN Drugs Agency. And Chelsea storm into the quarter-finals of the Champions League tonight.
And in BBC London News, claims that the Lee Jaspers scandal has caused serious damage to black organisations in the capital. And the postcode without a post office, London's area whose last counter has closed.
Good evening. The long-running campaign for a referendum on the new European Treaty has been defeated by the House of Commons. The Prime Minister rejected the Conservative case for a referendum, arguing that the treaty was not radical or far-reaching enough to justify this kind of vote. After a long debate, a number of MPs rebelled and 3 Lib Dem frontbenchers resigned in protest at their leader's orders. Let's join our political editor, Nick Robinson, at Westminster.
At the last election, one thing seemed absolutely clear, as in manifesto after manifesto after manifesto, the public were told that they would get a vote on the European Constitution. Tonight it seems clear there'll be no referendum at all, because Labour and the Liberal Democrats, despite large rebellions, have voted tonight to ensure that, in their words, the Constitution is dead, and so too is their promise that the people will get their say.
The ayes to the right, 248. The noes to the left, 311.
No, you won't get a vote on whether Britain signs the new EU treaty. That was the decision of the Commons tonight.
So the noes have it, the noes have it.
At just before 7, it became clear that the coalition voting yes to a referendum was not big enough to defeat the government. Here's one reason for that. As other MPs went to vote, Nick Clegg ordered Liberal Democrats to stay where they were, voting neither yes nor no. The new leader was ignored by 16 of his own MPs, 3 of whom resigned their frontbench jobs, leaving him, not the government, in trouble. And this was supposed to be a bad day for Gordon Brown.
The truth is, all of us in this House promised a referendum. We have the courage of our convictions and are sticking to that promise. He has lost his courage, and that lot have lost their convictions.
The Prime Minister says he changed his mind on a referendum when the EU treaty changed.
If this was a constitutional treaty, we would hold a referendum. If there was a vote on a euro, we'd hold a referendum. But the constitutional concept was abandoned.
Mr. Speaker.
The Liberal Democrat leader's made enemies by insisting that the only referendum he'd now back is whether Britain should be in or out of Europe.
That this country will never lead in Europe until politicians who believe in the European Union have the courage to stand up for it.
29 Labour MPs rebelled against their government's line tonight. Many were scathing about the Lib Dems' tactics.
Threatening them with an abstention is not the best way of sending shivers up the background. Ooh, the Liberals are going to abstain.
Another Lib Dem leader then faces more headlines about another split. He is unrepentant.
I know you need to describe it as a fight and a split. I don't see it that way. I don't apply any relish or machismo to the fact that 3 people have had to leave my shadow cabinet. But it happens in politics. It's part of leadership to make sure that it's the majority opinion in a parliamentary party that prevails.
And it's true that his rebels did so more in sorrow than anger.
I couldn't support a position taken by the party on a 3-line whip, and therefore the consequences are inevitable, and I'm now on the backbenches as a result. I mean, I've been personally committed to a referendum for a very long time, and it's not just what was in the last manifesto, it's what I personally feel, and I wanted to be honest to myself and to my constituents.
So what happens next to the Lisbon Treaty? If the Lords back the government, Parliament will ratify it. The Irish are the only EU country to be staging a referendum. If they and others vote yes, only a general election might just halt the treaty. The long battle over what was the EU constitution and is now the Lisbon Treaty isn't over yet, but its result looks increasingly certain.
Nick, when we look back on this vote tonight in years to come, how significant do you think it'll appear?
Well, significant because Britain will not be the country, it seems, that will halt the Lisbon Treaty. No country may do that, of course. Significant also because this government, like all governments since 1975, have in the end feared referendums, nervous that they will create divisions in their own party, nervous, of course, that they might lose. It has confirmed one other thing too, Huw, that Europe is a party splitter. The Tories terribly split when they were in government. They may face divisions again, of course, if they return to government, about how far to change what happens with Britain in Europe. Labour faced a split tonight, but it is Nick Clegg tonight who has to face up to the fact his party is split. It's one of the first decisions he's took as Lib Dem leader. He hopes people will remember him for taking a stand. He fears they might remember merely another Lib Dem divide.
Nick, thank you very much. Nick Robinson there at Westminster.